Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I'm from Milton, Ontario, Canada. I am that gal, and I am with.
I am that guy. I'm Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. We'd like to welcome you to our How You See It podcast for tonight.
And tonight we have Glenda Barrington. It's going to be very interesting because Glenda is a money coach, but she takes a holistic approach to it. She does help women at this time. We don't know down the road, maybe she'll be helping men, but at this point, it's primarily for women. So, Glenda, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Lorianne and Roy. I'm so excited to be here.
So, can you tell us, Linda, how you got started in this business?
Sure. Well, about 12-ish years ago, I found myself in a situation where I'm just going to say through bad decisions, desperate decisions, and a lack of knowledge, I found myself in personal bankruptcy. That's where my financial situation ended up. And at the time, I was also started in the mortgage industry. My experience with bankruptcy and that whole process, and like even before I got there, it was quite a learning experience. And after I kind of got over it and got out of my own head, I realized it was more or less a gift because I was given a clean slate and a chance to move forward. But because of my own experience, I always thought, you know what, if I could help other women kind of navigate this stuff, that's what I want to do. But it took a number of years. And like I said, I was in the mortgage industry. I still am. And so as time progressed, I was finding that, I was helping people. And then we were doing a lot with debt consolidations and stuff like that. And then about 4 years ago, I guess, I also started working in debt consulting. So I had a couple of tools in my belt there for my clients. But what I was seeing was that a lot of the women were coming in and they had already, they've been in debt before. They were caught in a debt cycle, right? They've been in a debt, they've been in debt, they got out of debt, they've been in debt again. And here they were, sometimes even further in debt. And so I realized that there was some kind of a disjoint or something like that, because there was something missing. If they were clearing off all their debts, but here they were back again. So what was happening in the middle? And at that point in time, I said, you know what? I can see what's missing here. So I decided to add that to my tool belt. And now, as Lorianne said, I choose to use a holistic approach because, yes, it's great to have the practical tools like spending plans and, other useful strategies to get you out of debt. But to be able to get out of debt and stay out of debt, it's a process. There's more to it than that. I mean, there's the support and accountability. There's understanding your values and what's important to you. Because when your spending is aligned with that, then you have a less of a tendency to, keep up with the Joneses and spend just to kind of fill the place with stuff. But a lot of it comes down to the person, and that's where mindset comes into it. And I mean, mindset is crazy. It's all about your beliefs, the stories you tell yourself, the perceptions and things like that, right? Because if you think, let's say for an example, like mindset, they call it so many things, but let's say if you're in a position where you think, you know what, I'm never going to get out of debt. It's never going to happen for me. You are self-sabotaging yourself, because even before you start, you set yourself up for failure. And when you're in that mindset or you have that belief, you're less likely to take the actions that will move you towards achieving your goals. And you'll be less likely to even embrace change that's needed to help you develop new, healthier spending habits, right? But so that's the negative part of it. But if you're in a positive mindset, like if you can flip that around and say, okay, here negative is like, I'll never get out of debt. But if you start saying to yourself, you know what? I'm smart and I know I can do this. I know I can get out of debt. Well, the more you believe it and the more you say it, because I mean, your thoughts become your reality, right? And the more you tell yourself you can do something, then you're more likely to do something, like actions that'll bring you there. Like maybe you'll read some books, maybe you'll listen to some podcasts, maybe you'll take a course, or maybe you'll hire a coach like me. But you're more open to the possibilities when you believe that it's possible. And that's, I think, that's a really big part that's missing, because it's easy to, well, it's not like easy, but you can go out and you can pay off your debt. But if you're not in the whole, if you don't have it in your head what you're doing and how you're approaching life in general, you're not going to achieve those goals and stick with it, right? So
Now, I have a quick question. So I would imagine, though, with some people and their spending and their debt, it's not even just to keep up with the Joneses. I would imagine it would be, and we talked about this before, Glenda, is it's almost like food, where, so I know I have a bit of a problem. I really enjoy getting things in the mail. So I'll even order from Amazon because it's like a gift to myself, right? It's like, it's not smart to do that, but there's those thoughts, right? Where I need to, I guess it's sort of like a reward, and you don't pay attention to that reward, then becomes a non-reward. Just like if you eat too much, that's a reward to you, but at the end of it, it's not doing you any favors, just like money. And I think that there's a similar mindset to that. Some people it's money, some people it's food, some people it's, whatever, collecting. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? There's a similarity there in a sense. So do you help people with that kind of thing? Like, I mean, as far as trying to curb, trying to reward themselves to maintain their finances, so to speak?
Well, a lot, I think, it comes down to your values and what's important to you. Because when you can clearly understand what is important to you, then your spending can reflect that. For an example, okay, let's say if we did an exercise and we came to the conclusion that it's very important for you, for your family to be financially secure, because that's one of the most valuable things to you and what's important. And also, it's important for you to spend quality time with your family. So that's your two main things. Okay, that's fine. So you decide that, well, you're going to spend $5,000 on a vacation to bring your family somewhere so that you can spend that quality time together. Okay, well, that's a bit of a contradiction, because yes, you want to spend that quality time. However, you're not taking into account what you said about the importance of financial security. Because if you're in debt and you're spending $5,000 on a vacation, this means that you're rerouting money that can go towards your debt to go over here, right? So it's really, well, in what I do, I want people to find what is important to them and then try and work it so that their spending is reflective of that. But you can also have a meaningful life as you do that, because there's so many people that figure, oh my gosh, here I am, I'm trying to get out of debt. This means that I'm going to have to be deprived and living a life of lack, and I can't do anything, and blah, blah, blah. They get kind of freaked out about it. But this is where a lot of creativity comes in and thinking outside the box. And I believe in non-monetary rewards, because if you're taking on something big and it's far, it's down the road, right? Because if you have like 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 in debt, that's not going away next year. So what you want to do is set up milestones and whatever makes you comfortable. Heck, it could be even like every $500 that you pay on a debt. If that's what you need to keep you motivated, well, then you find a non-monetary reward. Maybe it's an hour quality time for yourself, or maybe it's a hour's ride on bike, whatever it is that you want to do. But you have to be celebrating your wins, even if they're small ones, right? And I think that's really important for people to understand that, okay, when you know what's valuable to you and what means most to you, you can bring that into your life. Like that $5,000 vacation. Okay, so maybe you don't go that route. Maybe you take, weekend day trips or something like that with your family and friends. So you're still getting in that quality time, and you're also respecting another of your values, which is a financial security. By not spending as much, you can route that back to your debt repayment.
Well, for me personally, because I was in debt, and so I worked out a system for myself where I knew the exact day I was going to be out of debt. I mean, but I stayed on the plan, you know. But what I found out in talking to people, a lot of people, the first thing you hear is, "I don't make enough money." And and so I this one guy I worked with. I mean, he was living hand to mouth. I mean, literally, he had like 2 divorces. I mean, and so I told him, I said, "Look, you do make a lot of money. It's just you have so much debt you don't realize it." I said, once you get your debt paid off, it's amazing how much money you make. Because you're not paying $200 here, $500,000 here. You're keeping it all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I said, there's no greater feeling than not having debt. No house payment, no car payment, no nothing. So if you get laid off, you're not worried about it. If you want to do something, you can do it. If you want to buy a car, you can pay cash for it. So, but the people have got to have the desire and the motivation to develop a plan and stay with it. So for what you do, how much resistance do you get from people?
Oh, a lot. But you know what? I'm not here to drag anybody anywhere. I'm not, because if someone comes to me and if they kick up that much racket that they don't want to do this, they don't want to do, you know what? You're not ready.
Right.
You go on and do your own thing. And when you're ready to embrace change, when you're ready to invest in yourself, and when I say invest, that means like the time, the energy, the focus, the money, whatever. When you're ready, then come see me, because you know what? That's not something that I want to get to. If I have to drag someone and pull someone, I'm not going to work with that person. Like I'm there to motivate you. I'm there to cheerlead for you. I'm there to kick your arse if I need to, but I'm not there to like pull teeth, if it's that difficult. Yeah. But I think people, a lot of times they kind of need to get a clearer understanding. So we talk about what their situation is now, how it'll look down the road. We talk about what's important to them. We talk about their why. And this is really important, to understand your why. And so you might say, well, what do you want to get out of debt? Someone could say, well, I want to have extra money. Now you could leave it there, or you could dig a little deeper. And it's important to dig deeper, because then you could say, well, okay, what will you do if you have extra money? Well, I can spend it on this. And you keep asking, well, why? And you drive them nuts if you have to. But eventually you might start off with, I want to get out of debt because I want extra money. But when it comes down to the meaty part, they want to get out of debt because they want financial security for their family. So to me, if someone says, well, I want to get out of debt because I want financial security for my family, that's a heck of a lot better reason, and a bigger motivator for them to, to create the plan, to stick to the plan. Now, I mean, life is fluid, right? So we have to expect that there has to be some adjustment, and that's fine. But to understand why you really want this, that's important. And it's the same with anything in life, right? If you understand why you're doing it, well, that's going to be what motivates you on those days when you're feeling like crap and you feel that, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. Well, you think about your why, and that's going to bring you back up. And that's going to be the thing that sets you back on that road again. So that's really important.
Yeah, I worked out a plan for my brother. It was going to take him like roughly 4.5 years. Didn't last the first month. He just, he was, he just couldn't do it, And so, but I know, because when I did it, it was tough. Because I mean, it was like 3 years for me, 2 years and 10 months, actually. But I mean, I stuck with it because I was so wanting to get out of debt. I mean, it was no option, other than do this, So,
and Roy, you said he couldn't do it. It really was, he didn't have the desire to really do it, because anyone can do it, but
exactly.
you have to want to do it.
Yeah, he wanted to, but he didn't want to.
Exactly. So he didn't have a big enough motivator.
Yeah. So.
He obviously didn't, because if you have, actually, I have it right here. I think it says, what's your why? And when your why is big enough, you will find your how. And that's the thing, right? A lot of times people think that it's easier than it is. Like, I mean, anyone can get out of debt, but it's the staying out that makes the difference. Because I mean, so let's say it took you 2.5 years. That was great. You stuck to it. You did your thing and boop, boop, boop. But maybe someone has the same amount of debt, relatively the same income, but they're like, you know what? My priorities are different. I want to be able to do this while I'm doing that. And that's fine, because you know what? This is a journey. It's not to compare yourself to Roy because Roy did it this way. This is you, your own life. And I think that's another big thing is we spend so much time comparing ourselves to other people and where they are on their journey. But you know what? You don't know what it took for them to get where they are right now. And we need to understand that, and we need to stop the comparison, because that right there is setting you up for failure, because there's always going to be someone who's further ahead, someone who has more, someone who has better. But it doesn't matter when you live a meaningful life and you're spending your money on the things and the experiences that are actually meaningful and important to you.
Yeah.
We were also talking about that too, as far as it being a lifestyle, because remember we discussed the fact that there are some people, they try and over pay off their debt, and then the next month they're, it's just like, it becomes like this roller coaster. And that's not healthy to do that. You really do need more consistency, right? Like it has to become a lifestyle.
Yeah,
exactly. And it has to be sustainable. It's kind of like, money and food just so much alike in a lot of respects, right? Because it's like people try to go on this financial crash diet, the same as if they would on a food crash diet. And so they're saying, oh, okay, well, for the next X amount of time, I'm not going to spend, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do. And that's fine. So, they're gung-ho, but during this time, they're feeling the weight of it, the pressure of it, because they're not allowing themselves to live. And you can't sustain that forever. Not the same as you can't sustain like a crash diet. That's just something that will help you get over this little hump. But then what do you do? What is the maintenance? And that's the whole part of it. It's the maintenance part of it, right? Because anyone can lose weight. Anyone can get out of debt. But what do you do next? And like Lorianne said, if you're overdoing it, you're not helping yourself, because this is not sustainable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I mean, it's tough to do. I mean, or it was for me. I mean, we were pretty dedicated to doing it, but I mean, but you know, it's hard not to really be able to do things and like you want to do, because, well, no, we need to pay this off, we'll put that off the side, but then when it's all done, it was worth it. But
Mhm.
it's hard while you're doing it.
It is. It can be very hard. And that's why, once again, you have to pull in that why. Why are you doing this? But you also have to, not everybody is going to be the same.
Right.
Like for yourself, you pushed through the hard times and you got through it. But there's a lot of people who are a little more, as we would say in Newfoundland, a little more niche. And they can't handle it. And that's fine. But you don't have to deprive yourself. I mean, a lot of people talk about the expensive coffees. I don't drink coffee, but I know that they can get expensive, like $5-6 or more, maybe. I don't know. But you know what? Even if you're paying off debt, that doesn't mean you can't have one of your expensive coffees. Now, maybe if you're drinking 2 or 3 every day, no. But if you have a little treat, like this is a lifestyle. This is your life. So what are you going to do? Are you going to deprive yourself for the rest of your days and then reward yourself when you get out of debt? No, it makes it more difficult to get there. If this is like the carrot dangling, right? Oh, when I get out of debt, or if I get out of debt, then I can enjoy a nice expensive coffee, or yay, I can do this. I think the trick is to find the things that still bring you joy and meaning as you're going along on your journey. And then even when you get to the end, you've come to realize that, hey, you know what? Money, I've taken back the power. Because what we do, we give money the power over our happiness in a lot of instances when we don't need to. Because if we can say, okay, you know what? I can, when I reach this milestone, I'm going to give myself a non-monetary reward. It's going to bring me joy. It's going to make me happy. And you know what? Screw off money, because I just took back a little bit of power. And that's important, because I think we put too much around money. Money is going to make me happy. If only I had more money, I could be happier. I could spend more fun time with my family. I could do this. I could do that. Sure, you can. You can do a lot more when you have more money, but it doesn't mean your life quality has to be lesser because you have less money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but that's the way a lot of people look at it, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you say, the mindset, being able to turn that mindset around is the key.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly. But the only thing about mindset, like the way it works, a lot of the beliefs and perceptions and things like that we do have were instilled in us when we were still little sponges. We were less than 7 years old, so we were just taking in everything that our life teachers were telling us. And our teachers, like our parents, our guardians, whomever, they can only share with us what they knew, because we only know what we know. So if in their mind, from their teachers and their life experiences, they came to the conclusion that, well, you know what? If you want anything in life, you're going to have to work hard for it. They're going to instill that into their kids. So a lot of times, these beliefs and perceptions and the mindset, the stories we tell ourselves, they're not ours. A lot of times, these are conditioned beliefs that have come from someone else. And it's great if they're kind of towards the surface and we can see them. But so much of this stuff is so deep and it's so ingrained, it works on a subconscious level. And until we actually consciously look for it, we probably won't see it and how it plays out.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Like, my parents didn't teach me about money. Did y'all's parents teach you about money? A little?
My mother a bit. My mother was very frugal, and she was. It was thanks to her that we were like she she saved all the time. My second oldest sister too, but I think we were more like my father. We weren't quite like that. I mean, when I got my allowance, I used to go out and buy mom a present. She used to get mad at me. She goes, "You should put it in the bank," but I couldn't help it. And even when she yelled at me, I still go out and I always bought her a present with my. And you know, I'm still kind of like that. I still take my money and I like to share it with people and buy them things. It's bad.
Well, you know, and when I was trying to research about paying off debt and stuff, I came across something that I thought was pretty interesting. The Rockefellers. So when they were growing up, they were given an allowance. They had to put 10% in charity of some kind, 10% in savings, and the rest of the money, they had to keep a ledger or an account of every dime they spent. So if they got $100, they had to account for every penny of that $100. And so, you know, early on, they, you know, well, you know, you're wasting, what do you buy this for? It's a waste of money, you know, whatever. So, but that's kind of the concept of wealth, how they, that, you know, the 10% to charity, 10% savings, and then look at every penny you spend, you know. And so I think there's a lot to be said for that. As far as teaching your kids, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And the sad part is that, you know, money management is a learned skill. But if the parents don't have the skills to instill into the children, and a lot of times they're, you know, I know for us, we grew up not having those skills. You know, you're flying by the seat of your pants, hoping that whatever you're doing is going to work. Sometimes it does, most times it doesn't. And it's just, you learn as you go, right? But, you know, like you said, there is something to be said about that. And it's too bad that more people weren't given that opportunity as children.
Well, it's too bad. I don't know about in Canada, but here in the U.S., some of that stuff should be taught in schools.
I agree.
When my sons were in junior high school, they had a class called, I think it was like home and family living, something along those lines. So they would pair up a boy and a girl, and they'd give them these things. All right, here's some jobs. You pick a job. And, you know, housewife, job, whatever. And then it's okay. So this is your job. This is how much it pays. So they had to go out. They had to get an apartment on paper. Get an apartment.
Oh my gosh.
They had to get a car. They had all this stuff, you know. And so now my son's a teenager, right? It's like 16. So he, or a little bit younger. He says, "Dad, do you know how much car insurance costs?" I go, "As a matter of fact, I do." Yes, I know exactly what it costs, you know, and just because he really did learn a lot, you know, especially my oldest son. He goes, you know, and they had baby and all this stuff. And I had no idea, you know, but this same son, when he went off to college, goes, "Well, there's no toilet paper here. We don't have any toothpaste here," you know. I said, "You're not living at home anymore, son."
Welcome to the real world.
but anyway, it's just funny. But I think teaching money, some basic skills, how to write a check, how to balance, you know, kids should know that. They should learn.
Yeah, exactly. And even in the home, sometimes I know that a lot of parents will say, "Well, you know, we'll talk about the money, but not around the kids." I think that the kids can be privy to the money talks. Now, they don't have to be involved if there's going to be disputes or whatever, right? But I think even then, like I remember one of my friends, it was so funny. Like she was a stay-at-home mom, and her husband made, you know, really good money, right? And so anyway, her daughter was babysitting or something like that. She had her first babysitting job. And so anyway, she wanted these expensive jeans or something. And so my friend says to her, "Okay, well, you can have it when you pay for it." And now these are kids that are used to everything just being handed to them, right? And so needless to say, the daughter flipped out. And so anyway, my friend, she stuck to her guns, and she said, no, if you want this, you will pay for it. And so later on, we were talking, and she said, Glenda, that's the best thing that I could have done for her. She said, because so often, many times before that, if they had something, even if it was expensive, if they broke it or whatever, damaged it, it didn't mean anything because they didn't have anything invested in it, right? It was from mom and dad. Mom and dad will replace it. And my friend said, you'd swear those jeans were made of gold. She said, because they had to be done a certain way. And, if anything got on them, oh my gosh, Mom, you got to be able to get this off. Because this came from her pocket. She knew how long it took her babysitting to get those pants, right? And I think that's important that kids do have that, to be exposed to that. I mean, even if a parent has, a half decent income or a lot of income, whatever, they should still give the kid an opportunity to say, okay, you know what, I can do this on my own instead of depending on the bank of mom and dad.
Yeah. And my parents brought me up like that. When I wanted a bike, I wanted a special bike, I had to work for it, clean the house, make some extra allowance to buy it. However, I will quickly say, because I know we're running at the top of the hour, but will quickly say that when I did buy my first car, and my parents helped me out a little bit because of my graduation, that was my graduation gift. But I was surprised because, I hadn't been taught of the fact that, there were the taxes, there's the insurance, there's this, there's that. And I'm going, oh my gosh, it's not just a car. You see that, $4,000 for a cheap car, but then you've got another, $500 at least to go on top of that. So things to learn. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Glenda, this was really great. Thank you very much. And can you just let
you.
our audience know where they can find you?
Well, they can find me on my website, which is www.glendabarringtonconsulting.ca, or they can find me on Facebook under Glenda Barrington Money Coach. I think if you put that in there, it'll come up on Facebook. Yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
Well, thank you very much. This was
Well,
very
thank
good
you,
information.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right.
So did we.
Okay, well, have a wonderful evening. And thanks again, Glenda.
Okay.
Thank
See
you.
you, Glenda.
Bye.
Bye.